did this the Cowboy Vittle way. Welcome back to Cowboy Vittles, a place you can call home, a place that you can experiment with some new recipes, where you can explore your taste buds, where you can actually spend time in the kitchen with your families. Now, I have an old-time favorite of mine, and it's called shepherd's pie. I've eaten this all my life. For those of you who don't know what shepherd's pie is, well, it's basically meat and potatoes with a few vegetables thrown in there. Now originally they used lamb. We don't eat a whole lot of lamb in our house because it's too darn expensive. So what we're going to do, we're going to use some hamburger meat, which a lot of folks actually do. You're going to need some taters and stuff because you're going to have to go ahead and cut them up, make mashed potatoes with them. You're going to need a little bit of salt, and depending upon what you want, what your flavor buds are, you know, right here we've got about a tablespoon of salt. We've got a tablespoon of pepper. We've got about 2 tablespoons, I should say, of tomato paste. We've got about 3 tablespoons worth of flour. Then we have our onions, and that's about a cup. Then you're going to need some garlic. Gotta have that garlic. Then we, you know, have our peas and stuff, because you're going to have that in there. Then you're going to have your carrots. And then obviously you're going to have your hamburger meat. And you're going to need some butter. Let me show you how we do this. Let me put this off to the side. Now the first thing we're going to go ahead and do, as you've seen before, I got all these taters and stuff, and I'm using russets, and you can use Yukon Gold, use whatever. Now let's start slicing them down. Get them boiling, and I've got my water already going. And I'm slicing these down into about 1-inch chunks. Let's throw that in the water. Get that out of the way. And yes, I got my knife, my hunting knife, because you know what? I can get all them fancy knives and stuff that a person likes, but this thing here, I can use it for a lot of different things. I can use it for hunting, I can use it for fishing, I can use it for camping, I can use it for a lot of different things. And I can even use it in the kitchen. Alright, let me get my ladle out here and let's stir this around a little bit. And I'll do the, ooh, crud. All that water went all over my table. We'll let this go ahead and be cooking down. What we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and throw this meat into the skillet that's already been heating up. We're going to throw that off to the side. And we're going to go ahead and start browning this up, because we're going to need that browned up. There we go, that's good enough. Now here's what we're going to do, folks. You remember that garlic I was telling you about? We need to throw that in there, because we need to go ahead and get that simmering up there with it. Remember the onion? There it goes too. We don't want a ton of it in there, but hey, you gotta have it. Now our pepper. Now we'll take our salt. Here's what we're gonna do now, because you gotta have carrots in there. We're going to take out a few of these carrots. You remember that ulu knife that I told you I bought about 25 years ago up there in Alaska? We still use it here in my home. What we're gonna do, let's go ahead and slice these things down, because I ain't buying these things out of a can. I'd rather have fresh carrot. Let's just rock this back and forth and get this stuff done. I tell you what, these things are awful handy, and they're a main staple as far as up there in Alaska and even parts of Canada. Look at that. See how easy that was to chop them up with the ulu? Let's move over here. Let's get this stirred around, because we got to have this all sauteed. Now this is only about 80% lean hamburger, so it's going to have a little bit of dripping on it, and that's fine. You know, but what we're going to do now, after we stir this up just a little bit more, let's get that out of the way. Now I've got, as I told you, I got about 2.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. We're going to throw that in there. Get that out of the way. And we're going to stir this up around. Alright, now the next thing that we're going to do, I'm going to take my peas, and I'm not using this whole bag. Get some of these in here. Now, yes, I'm using frozen ones, because I haven't got to the farmer's market. That should be enough. Throw them in there. Ooh, that's smelling so good. And it ain't even done yet. Now folks, don't worry that these peas are frozen, because I tell you what, they're going to be going into the stove. And it's going to be cooking for about an hour before it's going to be ready to eat. We're going to go ahead and sprinkle some of this flour in here. Kind of sop it up. Let's get that out of the way. We want to make this into a nice thick gravy. Oops. Made another mess. See how that's thickening up, folks? Oh, and that smells so delicious. Get out of there, dog. Now we're going to put this back on the heat plate for the moment. Throw that spoon down. Now I want you to take a look. I've got my taters done. They're all boiled up. What we're going to do, we're going to dump them into this big bowl while they're still hot. Throw that off the side. Turn that off. I don't think we need that cooking anymore. Now, here's what we're going to do with these mashed taters. Take a look at that. We got a couple of egg yolks. We're going to dump them in here. We're going to take a little bit of milk. We got 1 cup of milk, but we may not need that much for the amount of taters we got. Let's just use about half that for the moment. Now what we're going to do, I use whole butter. I don't use that margarine stuff. We're going to go ahead and throw some of that down there.
There we go. That's about a half a stick. See if I can get it all off there. Now remember, folks, I told you I don't like the modern electrical gadgets anymore, and I have to use them for it. Take a look at that. That's an old-fashioned potato masher. Let's get this mashed all down. Now the reason we use the egg in there is because it helps to get these things stiffen up. Holy, I tell you what, this gives me a workout every time I have to do this. All right, well there's our meat. Let's just plop this in the pan. Now it's time to go ahead and spread this out. Let me get that wooden spatula out there. Oh boy, this is smelling so good. All them seasonings, the garlic, the salt, the pepper, and all that other stuff. I'm ready for this shepherd's pie. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take a spoon. I'm gonna use a small one, and I ain't worried about the fact that it had a little bit of meat on it, because guess what? It's all going in the same place anyway. Just plop that stuff in there. You can smooth it out as you go along. Yep. I can see. That's the reason I wear gloves, because I get all that stuff all over me. And I don't think my family needs to have that on them. Let's get some more on there. Let's smooth that out now. Folks, this is what shepherd's pie is. I know a lot of folks, they think of shepherd's pie as being something different. It's not. It's not like one of them turkey pot pies or beef pot pies that you buy out of the frozen section of your grocery store. No, this is what it is. Let's get this on here. Oh, I'm ready to grub down, folks. Alright, that's the last of the potatoes of what we made up. So what we've done is we've got all the peas and the carrots, our seasonings, our garlic, and all that other stuff. We've let them go together. Now we've also mashed down our taters, because let's face it, you can't have shepherd's pie without taters. We put that on top. This is what the final look is. What we're going to do now is we're going to pop this puppy into the oven at 375 degrees. Now, depending upon your elevation is going to depend upon how long and how high of a heat you're going to go ahead and cook this on. It's going to take us about an hour to get it to where we want it. You know, but once it's done, I feel like Santa Claus when I go, you know, but my kids will eat this stuff. My wife will eat it. I'll eat a whole heck of a lot of it. But shepherd's pie really is a lost tradition as far as a lot of folks. Well, it's been about an hour now since we put this into the oven. Our shepherd's pie is now done. Now what we've got to do is we've got to go ahead and let it cool down a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some of this cheese. My son, he don't like cheese unless it's on pizza. And I'm going to sprinkle this on one side of it while it's still hot. Because I know the rest of us will eat that. Let's get that going so it can melt down a little bit. I like my cheese. Now I know a lot of you folks who've ever had shepherd's pie, they understand that you need certain ingredients and you'd like to try to experiment with it. Now we could have done it with lamb, we could have done it with hamburger, which is what we did. We've done it with peas, we've done it with carrots. So we're only putting on our shredded cheese on half that size. And I know back in the old days, they didn't use shredded cheese. But we've got everything else that we need for this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this cheese melt in there and blend in and make it awful tasty. Well, my shepherd pie is done. I'm looking forward to slapping into a piece of this. Now come on over, folks, take a look at this thing. What we're gonna go ahead and do, let's cut into this. It's the best way to do this. Let me get a slab of this out of here. And as you can tell, I'm not wearing gloves because you know what? I've already done the cooking. Look at that. I want you to take a look at that. It's got the mashed potatoes. It's got the garlic. It's got all the seasoning in there. It's got everything. Now, here's my final touches on this. Now, everyone's a little bit different on their flavor buds. But what I'm going to do, let me get my Tabasco sauce out there because my wife knows I like it on my eggs and my potatoes and everything else. Let's go ahead and sprinkle just a little bit on there. Don't need a lot. Well, that might have been a little bit more than I should have, but hey, it's still good. All right, now let's go ahead and taste this puppy because I know she's going to be awful delicious. I've eaten this all through my life, and it's awful easy, awful cheap to make. With that Tabasco sauce on there and the cheese, oh my gosh. I know it ain't proper to for a cowboy to say delicious, but it really is. Guess what, folks? I'm gonna be grubbing down tonight. So will my family. I'm gonna put this down here for a second. Oh. Yep, that's good grubbing. Well, if you like what we're doing here today, I want you to try this here recipe because I tell you what, a lot of folks, they've never had shepherd's pie. It's a lost tradition and you can't find it in the stores unless you go to the frozen food section. And guess what? It's a turkey pot pie, the chicken pot pie, the beef pot pie, things like that. They got all them preservatives, they've got all the additives. But what we've got here, it's the real deal. So if you like what we do, subscribe to us. Like our, click on the like button down below. Follow us on social media. In the meantime, I tell you what, Cowboy Vittles, come and get 'em.